Well, as promised, here is Victrola the ninth, 313080. It's cleaned up, serviced, playing again, rebuilt, reproducer, spinning records once again. This machine was mostly just dirty. You know, it sits around in a house for 100 years. It's going to pick up a lot of fingerprints and dust and just ground in grime, layers of old wax. Cotton cleanser took care of that. It's looking pretty good now, and it's playing excellently. Now, as it comes to just for playing records, the 9 is definitely my favorite for that. Just for playing records, because it sounds good, it's strong, it's sturdy, and you know, you can just spin record after record on it. Even some marginal records generally sound good on this machine because the motor has the power to push through the worn spots, kind of smooth it over. Red mahogany, obviously, not oak, as you can see. Let's see what we got here today. We have Why Should I Cry Over You? The Virginians, under the direction of Ross Gorman. There's a little bit of surface wear in this record, but I don't think it's that bad. Let her spin up. And of course, that is the exhibition reproducer, which was original to this machine, and this machine is 1917. Not bad for a record that's almost 100 years old. And a machine that's 103. Okay, what do we got on the flip side? We got blue. First, change the needle. Always remember to do that. Okay, because needle, we'll go with a loud tone on this one. This machine is nice with a loud tone. It's got a big horn. Okay. Get that in there without stabbing myself. Always a good thing. I should probably wind it up because I did spin a record earlier. That's good enough. Okay. Yeah, didn't show the tag earlier. There you go. Victor Victrola tonight, 313080G. Gee whiz. Okay, let her spin up. Oh, you know, it probably would help to put the needle on the record before closing the lid. It worked better that way. There we go. A Victrola the 9th, sounding like it should. Even with a record, it's got a little bit of wear on it. These are really nice machines. Definitely. You know, Victrola got fancier. Yeah, the big 16s. They got more springs and different reproducers. But this is probably as good as they got. I mean, the later models of the 9 had the fat tone arms. They had the number 2 reproducer. But you know, the sound really isn't all that much different. Not really. Because they all had, back to 1913, they had the big isolated horn in there. And, yeah, you'll get a little bit more volume out of the, say, a later Victor Victrola 80, and of course, you know, stuff like that. But, and not including the orthophonics, of course. But for your basic teens and early to mid-20s, this is probably the best machine to have if you like just playing records in the house. Obviously, at 47 pounds, this is not a portable machine, unless you like weightlifting, of course. But just for in the house, playing records like I'm doing here, just testing records and whatnot, one of the best machines to have. This actually has original Victor springs in it. And it'll still play 3.5 to 4 sides of a record without a problem. Of course, I haven't tried clean records. Clean records, I'll probably go more than that. But the kind of the older, more worn stuff that I'm working with right now, that's pretty good. And as you can see, being 1917, this one has the feet. Victrola number 9 got the feet, when was it? 1915. 1915. And it really didn't change much until 1918. They modified the motor a little bit. They reconfigured the motor. They put 2 springs in 1 barrel. You know, still basically the same motor, but they just reconfigured it slightly. They got rid of the angle on the governor and, you know, that sort of thing. Changed the speed control a bit. And then they went to the fat tone arm, which stayed there until 1926. But the design of the case really doesn't change to the end of the production run in 26. And by then, I believe it was only for export. Figured at 24 for U.S. consumption. And, you know, they still had mahogany. They still had oak. Those were the 2 basic, you know, wood you could get with these. And this was the largest of the lidded tabletop models. It was the largest tabletop model at all. You know, for this era. The Victrola the 12th that I showed in previous videos, that's actually, you know, somewhat larger than this. It has a higher lid. It's a bit longer. But this was the basic size of this machine from 1911 all the way up to the last one. And I'm actually currently working right now, about to start working, on a 1911 or 1912. I still have to run the numbers on that. The patent sticker actually says 1911. I had thought the machine was a 12. But they're the same machine anyway. You know, those are the first design that didn't have the isolated motor, had a much more involved case cabinet in it because it has a built-in wooden horn. But we'll get into that in another video at another time. That's going to be, you know, the next one of the upcoming projects. But this one's done. This was actually requested by a friend of mine who wants to play records on it. He buys records for me at the flea markets and whatnot down south, and he wanted to have a machine to test records on. I tried to explain to him that testing the records after you've already purchased them kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, I'm going to test them anyway, and I know when you buy a stack of records that are 100 years old, some of them are going to play like brand new. Some of them are going to play like crap. That's just the way it goes. It all depends on how much use they saw over the last 100, usually in the first 5 to 10 years of their existence, you know, before the music fell out of style and they got put away. But he still wants to do it, so if this virus thing ever ends and he can travel back up here again, he will be collecting this, or I'll sell it to somebody else and I'll just fix another one because I have a few of these in stock waiting to be done, let's say. All of them in about the same condition. This was a very dirty motor, but it cleaned up well, and there were no worn gears in there, no surprises. Somebody had been maintaining it because the grease was still pliable, wet even a little bit, so, you know, it had been getting used. The reproducer was a mess, but that's normal. The average owner doesn't know how to rebuild these reproducers, doesn't want to pay doesn't know they have to send them out to have them rebuilt until it actually falls apart. Which with the exhibition is a distinct possibility due to that back gasket on there. You see it right there. That back gasket is rubber, and over time it will shrink, warp, crack, and eventually absolutely disintegrate and fall off. And when that happens, the reproducer just falls right off the arm. So unfortunately, a lot of these machines are found with nothing but the remains, the collar of the back gasket, the isolator gasket, stuck on the tone arm, and no reproducer because it fell off at some point in the past, especially the open machines like the 4 and the Victrola 6, those ones like that. This one, if it fell off, at least it would have stayed in the under the lid, hopefully, unless someone decided to take it away and put it someplace and then lose it. But there you go. It was a nice look at a decent Victrola the 9th. And because they made something like 500,000 and 550,000 of these things over the many years they were around, you're probably going to encounter one of these machines at a flea market or a tag sale more than any other. You know, even more than the 4 or the little 6. This is the most popular Victrola the company ever made, right here, the Victrola the 9th. Made more of these than any other model. Everybody loved them. Dealers, you know, they flew off the shelves. This was your typical middle-class household Victrola if somebody didn't want the bigger floor machine. You know, the Victrola the 10, the floor machine, was basically this with legs and a cabinet underneath it. That's all. Same motor, turntable, all that was all the same. But this is what they made the most of. So if you're at the flea market and you see this, and don't confuse it with the 8. The 8 looks very similar, but it's at 1, it's going to be an oak, and it's going to be a little shorter, a little smaller, and it won't have. See how the needle tree, you really can't see it here, can you? Is right in a row like that. With the 8, it curves off here like this in the corner. The 9, it's always like that, and of course you always have the tag IX. That's 9. Roman numeral for 9. But there you go, 313080 with the G prefix. That would disappear later on this year.